Well, good afternoon, everybody, and happy St. Patrick's Day. You may be watching this video, of course, after the fact, but nonetheless, we'd like to wish everybody a great day, and we're so glad you're with us. We have a special guest today, Vic Patel with Sawgrass. Vic, is Megan with you also, or is it just
Megan
you?
just escaped. She got me started and she ran away.
Okay. Well, we're
Yeah.
so honored to have you with us. And of course, as many people know, our fundamental business, what we come to work for, is to harness the power of sublimation. And we have an extreme passion for it. It's what I've been doing for a gazillion years. And what we try to do is, really two things. We try to help you make money with sublimation. And number two is we're very interested in bringing lots of products to market that you can decorate. And so our partner, Sawgrass, probably dates back, I think, Vic, even before you were born. You're a youngster. And so when was Sawgrass founded?
Well, Sawgrass is 30 years old. It's actually about 32 years old now this year. So so thank you for not aging me there. I certainly do appreciate it. We've been around for a while.
I know we've been doing business with Sawgrass, say 25, something like that. And again, the elements to our success are very simple. In fact, it was one of the more fun things I had to do when I wrote my book, The Road to Sublimation Success, because in the early days, I got to tell you, Vic, there was a lot of roadkill. A lot of people got into sublimation and they were not successful for a bunch of reasons. One was, of course, the technology was just happening. Number two is there weren't many products. Number three is computers weren't that good. But if we look at what's happening in the world of 2021 and beyond, to an extent, doing sublimation is almost as simple as just normal printing. It's just become so easy to do. And the number of products you can do, like my great glasses here. And by the way, I pulled out my jacket today. I did remember last night to charge the batteries. So the jacket's got a full charge. I was telling the group that I was awarded this jacket on behalf of the Masters for actually having the worst golf game that they have ever seen. And they felt like that I needed some recognition for that. But at any rate, today what we want to do is help people harness the power of CreativeStudio. And so Vic, tell us a little bit about CreativeStudio and why Sawgrass brought this product to market.
Yeah, I'd love to. So you're absolutely right. Many years ago there was a lot of roadkill when it came to sublimation, and one of the reasons that occurred was because people found it very difficult to get started in designing, whether it was getting the graphics or making sure that they had the right templates, whether they were doing a coaster or a mouse pad, just getting over that hurdle of learning Photoshop or Corel. So CreativeStudio, we started it to get people started and get them to really feel a taste for sublimation and making money. Not to stop them using Photoshop or anything, but to actually speed them up through that learning curve of sublimation.
Well, I could tell you in my experience that there's really, we'll call it 3 elements to success. Number one is you got to make artwork that people want to buy. In other words, it has to be valuable, it has to be, very often it has to be personal, but it has to be something that they'll pay for. Number two is the sublimation process itself, and that's our part, we teach you that. Number three is sales and marketing. And if you put all these elements together, then you're going to be successful. And when we were out there and the sublimation market was growing, we were encountering lots of people that didn't know whether Corel started with a C or K. And when it came to Adobe, they knew of the company from, you know, Acrobat and that kind of thing, but they certainly didn't know how to use any of the Photoshop products. But yet they wanted to get in sublimation. They had some great sales and marketing ideas, and I think it was a pure genius step on Sawgrass's part to come up essentially with a free design system. And to Sawgrass's credit, they made it cloud-based, so there's really no software to install. You can log in from anywhere in the world, and I guess you could design anywhere in the world, and you can print, and it will find your printer wherever it is, and the page comes out. And to me, that is really a cool architecture for people that don't want to learn software, don't need software. But some of the new features in CreativeStudio, what version of CreativeStudio do you say you have today?
So today we have CreativeStudio 4. It's actually over the last six and a half years. It's gone through a number of iterations. Whether it was a really easy to use, very minimalistic piece of software when we first started. It got a little bit more complicated. We did make a big change last year to a new platform that gave us more flexibility when it came to adding content, adding folders, the ability to upload fonts and things like that were very important. So this is the 4th iteration, David, so in 6 years. And we're going to continue to build on it.
That's incredible. And so, so today, what are you going to do?
All right. So today, someone was really nice enough to send us some samples the other day of some pet wear.
Wow.
Right? And I'm
cool.
This, you know, I don't know who it was, but it was a company called Conde out of Mobile, Alabama. But I was excited when I got those. Megan got the box. She opened it up. She got these, and many people don't know, but I've actually got 2 dogs. I've got a little tiny dog, and I've got a Labrador. I don't dress my dogs up at all, but I do follow a lot of trends in the pet industry, and so kudos, David. I mean, the pet industry in the U.S. alone is $63 billion. So when people say, you know, there isn't much money in pets, there's a lot of money in pets. The pet industry makes a ton of money, for sure. So what I want to show today are a couple of things. One, how to design on this, right? On dog wear. We haven't got the template up in CreativeStudio yet. We will shortly, but I'll show you a workaround. And more importantly, how to take advantage of some of the great designs that are up on Conde Design, right? So how can you take a Conde Design, download it, and then upload it into CreativeStudio, use that to make a nice sort of outfit for your pet. And I was also surprised. I'm going to share my screen, David, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's see here. I think we should be a nation of Zoom experts now, right? After 2020?
Indeed.
All right. So can you give me a green light? Can you see my screen there? You should
All
see
good.
Oh, there you go.
All good.
I did this just to show you guys a photograph of me on David's website on Conde, which is, I'm excited. I've made it now. All right. So if you folks haven't been on Conde Design, I did. I went on there in order to prepare for this. And Conde Design has a whole bunch of really, you guys have done a great job, by the way, on this collection, David. I actually contributed and purchased a couple of designs. Actually, this one right here. It downloaded. I got my JPEG. I got my Photoshop file, my PSD, and then I went into CreativeStudio. And CreativeStudio is really easy. I'm logged in as Megan Rodenhouse here, so don't mistake me for Megan. I'm going to go straight in and start creating. And the great thing about CreativeStudio is you don't have to wait to start creating. It's got a template that opens up. It's an 8-inch by 8-inch square. For those folks who know what they want to make, or what size of product they want to make, they can go in and design straight away. There's no hassle. I'm going to bring in, I'm going to show you that you can actually upload a Photoshop file into CreativeStudio. Now, some Photoshop files are relatively large and they take a little long to upload as it goes through the transition. I've pre-uploaded this particular file here, and it's really easy. It takes about, this one took about 30 to 40 seconds to upload. So I helped it along and preloaded it just a few minutes before we went live. So as you can see, it brings it in. Now, if you have a Photoshop file that's layered with text or has several different layers on there, you can bring that in, and the layers will, you can retain the layers within CreativeStudio. And your text will also be editable within CreativeStudio. So there's some really cool, rich features in here so that you can take advantage of. So I'm going to start this over again, and I'm going to start designing the garment, the pet garment. Let's see here. So I'm going to first of all find my blank canvas. I'm going to design on an 11 by 17 canvas or paper. There you go. And here's my 11 by 17. The light gray area is the bleed area of the paper. So you can actually print all the way up to that gray area, but it's just telling you that that's your bleed area so that you can eye up your designs. I'm going to bring in a really cool background. Like I said, go back into my designs here. I'm going to bring in my St. Paddy's Day background. And I'm actually gonna make a small doggy shirt, and it's of course the St. Patrick's Day theme. And I wanna add a little bit of customization in here. So let's go and find a clover leaf. So I can do some searching here and find a clover. This one looks good. I'm going to resize it so it makes sense. It's really easy. It's really drag and drop. Very easy. Now, if you wanted to upload your own images, you can do that too. You can simply go into your galleries and you can upload as many images as you want. You don't have any limits on uploads, and you can store them. You can actually create folders. So if you have individual clients that you're making products for, you can actually go into the settings and create folders for each of your clients and upload images into these individual folders too. Okay. So one thing about Zoom that we have to keep doing is moving the video screen around so you can get to all the bits and bobs. All right, so I'm going to change the color here. Going to make this a green clover, which is appropriate, I think, for today. And then I'm going to add some text. And if you have a premium account with Sawgrass, you can actually upload your own fonts too. So long as you have the license and you own the font, you can upload as many fonts as you want. If you don't, then you can certainly take full advantage of all the fonts that we have in here. We have over 300 different fonts in here. It's a pretty extensive collection. So let's see if I can find Bulby one, which is the one I like to use on this. And you can write in paragraphs or you can write in single text with single lines. So let's see. This is not a message for you, David. Let's see. And I'm a typical guy. I can barely do two things at the same time. So talking and typing are very difficult for me to do. So I'm going to finish typing here. What do you think I'm going to say? There you go. Kiss me, I'm a rescue.
Cool.
Sent of it. Sorry?
Cool.
Yeah, this is great, isn't it? I love doing this. All right, so now if you wanted to change the spacing between these, I would write one line out at a time. So that will make things a lot easier for you. I can change the color of the text. We're going to change it to white. I'm going to reduce the size of it a little bit so it fits into the clover. All right. So now we have the text done. We have the cool background, and backgrounds are really important, right? Some people will just take an image, put some text around it, but the background really makes that image pop, right? So I love this sort of Argyle clover background for St. Patrick's Day. One great feature here that we added recently was the ability for you to pick your colors using RGB or CMYK, or you can use the hex numbers. Very few people are familiar with hex numbers. Most people are really into the RGB and CMYK colors, okay? So once I've done this, I can actually print it if I'm happy with it, and I can print. And I'm gonna print it to my SG-1000. It is gonna go on a tabloid sheet, and I'm gonna pick a material, polyester. Why is this important? So these are your print settings that you want to select to describe what your final product is, right? And the reason that this is important is that it lays down the right amount of ink to get the right colors and the image popping for the material that the ink is going to be going into. Believe it or not, a mug will take a lot less ink than a polyester garment, right? Because a polyester garment, the ink has to get in there, into the fabric, into the polyester molecules. The mug, it goes inside a thinner layer of the coating, and so it needs less ink. And that makes a big difference. It makes a big difference, especially when you're doing photographs or really vivid colors. And I'm sure David can attest to that. Set your quality. So high quality, high speed. High speed says what it does. It says it comes out pretty quickly. It'll probably take about 30 seconds to print this page, but you may not get a sharper image popping out. Most people, almost 80% of our user base, use high quality, which is our default setting. So it's a slightly slower print, but you get the better high quality image popping out of the printer. Color mode. A lot of people don't realize this. So there is a color mode, one called photographic and one called vivid. Now, photographic, as the name suggests, is really, really good for design, for photographs, right? In order to get really cool gradients and get detail out. Vivid is really good if you really want to give that image a bit of a pop. If you're using vector art like we are here, solid colors, vivid really gives that image a little bit of pop, okay? If I say print, it's going to send this to the printer into the Sawgrass Print Manager. And what it's doing right now, it's sending this file to the cloud. And if you recall David saying, you know, you can be anywhere you want to be if you want to print, you really can. You could be at a Starbucks designing this for a client, going back and forth and moving your screen back and forth, getting it right, and then send it to print so that when you get home, it's all queued up and ready to go. As long as you are connected using the same email address as the printer is connected to, you can do that. So it's actually a pretty cool feature. So I'm going to print here. And in a few seconds, you'll hear the printer going. So in good old Rachel Ray fashion too, I have pre-printed this sheet, and I actually printed a larger sheet, okay? Same design, as you see on the screen, but I went out and pre-printed it.
Vic, we're not able to see you again.
Oh,
we're
you
still
can't see
seeing
me?
your screen.
I'm sorry. Do I need to unshare? I guess that would be the best way, right?
You just switch back to your camera, whatever way you do that. Yeah, unshare.
Yeah, let me unshare. Stop sharing.
There you go.
Thank you for that, David. Oh, this time I was wanting to make sure my hair was okay. You can. All right. So I did pre-print. You see, comes out pretty dull, huh? For those, and pretty much everyone on here should understand sublimation, and you can probably hear my printer going now. The ink comes out really dull, and the reason it does that is because the dye that's sitting on the paper hasn't been activated, and that gets only activated by the heat once it hits the heat press. So one of the things that we did learn, and David, you probably already knew this, is that we need to use some foam when transferring onto here. And the reason is, if you put the paper on the print surface, the heat press is going to hit this. However, the seams at the back create a little a cold spot for the heat press. So when you use the foam on the garment, it actually prevents that from happening, and you get a nice, clean, crisp transfer. So make sure you insert the foam into the garment and then lay the garment over the transfer like this, right? And then into the heat press face up, okay? So you go into the heat press, and we found about 385 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 seconds was the magic number for the garment at light pressure. And 45 seconds later, it didn't shrink because we actually transferred small. This is what you get.
Looks great.
David, the color transfer is amazing. It's bright, it pops. I don't know how you did this, but the fabric is awesome. And you know, as my good friend Jimmy Lamb would say, not all polyester is made equally. Be sure that you get good quality garments. And certainly David and team have done a fabulous
these are job. Not only is the fabric really good, but they're sewn very well, and the fabric is very heavy, so that this is not a novelty item. This is actually going to hold up on your pet.
Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of folks who purchase these garments for the pets, not only from a fashion perspective, but because it does snug them tight, and it prevents them from getting sort of panic attacks and sort of being less hyper too. And it works, right? These are proven studies, and so the way that it's double stitched, which I really liked, and like you said, the fabric is pretty thick, so it's going to be very sturdy. So I loved it. Thank you for sending those.
And they're double-sided also.
They are double-sided, so you can actually transfer on the back too, which will be on the belly of the dog. So you can actually transfer on both sides and get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, in fact, you could even do a small amount of sublimation on one of the inside areas to put your personalization info to let people know where the product came from.
Right in here, it's a great idea. So if you just put your logo and your website name in there, that tells people where it came from. If you really want to design it, you can put your website on the front here too, where everybody's going to see it, right? Don't forget, your website doesn't have to be loud. Your website name doesn't have to be loud and obnoxious. It just has to be a small imprint at the top here. And consumers are used to this today. We see it everywhere.
And so as far as that size, if we do 2 prints, what do you think our approximate cost of ink was for that?
Oh, for this? So for this, just covering what? I'd say less than 30 cents.
Yeah, so small amount plus a little bit for the paper.
Yep.
So
How much
really
do you think
inexpensive.
we should sell this for, David?
Huh?
How much do you think we should sell this for?
You know, I'm learning a little bit about that. We've obviously been thinking about what kind of prices these would bring in the marketplace, and I think we've seen the extremes. So, for instance, if you were to partner with a pet groomer, so that these products were available to purchase at a pet groomer, then you're in what I would call the wholesale fulfillment model, where they're your sales force, you're doing fulfillment. You probably could get $39 for it.
Yep.
You could get a lot of money for it. In other words, because it's a personalized product. Now, the challenge is how do you sort of allow the person that's buying it at the pet groomer to sort of figure out their design. I think what you're going to be down to is probably having a couple of dozen canned designs that then are personalized for both the pet and the pet owner. I think that's what you're down to.
I agree. Even if there was I think the pet groomer is a perfect place to go, because even if you had in the morning, if I walk into the pet groomer and I drop off my dogs, I'm waiting for the individual to come in, pick them up. I'm walking around, looking around at things. And if you invest in a little a doggy mannequin, and you have this on the doggy mannequin with your pet's name here, literally, the words "your pet's name," and a nice design with the pet groomer's logo here. Place your order now. Get it later today, or get it tomorrow, or we'll ship it to you. If you can drop it off back at the pet groomer, even better. Having sold to retailers for about 10 years, they love traffic coming back into their store, so they can sell them and get them onto a second appointment or a third appointment or whatever they need. So if you can drive that traffic back to the store, the groomers would love it, even in today's environment.
You're 100% right. Typically, Vic, there is nothing exciting that happens at a pet groomer except possibly a dog biting someone. I mean, it is a dull business, and so these kind of products are exactly what the pet groomer needs to do what you're saying, to build that traffic. Now, you could also throw in normal products like a phone stand, a charging stand, and probably for those products, things are going to be a little different. What they're going to want to do is put a photograph of a dog that's passed away, of a deceased dog. And that's, for instance, what I have on my nightstand. I have one of our old golden retrievers right there, and really miss the dog, like we all miss our dogs, of course. But so I think the pet groomer is one of the best things that digital decorators, sublimation could do. Now think about it just for a second. You and I, when we talk to people, when we teach, very often we'll ask them, Vic, we'll say, well, what business are you in? And they'll tell us whatever business they're in. Well, selling to a pet groomer, I don't care what business you're in. This is this is another stream of income that is truly unrelated to whatever you think you're doing. And all you've got to do is go in and speak to the pet groomer, show him the products, they're going to be thrilled, and let them know that this is a locally manufactured product, that you can deliver it typically, say, next day, so it's delivered very quickly, and you'll have a relationship that will just be awesome. And you cut them a little of the profit, and they'll be very happy.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the other thing too. The groomers that I take our little dog to, besides the fact that they love my credit card, that they have lots of photographs of the dogs that they've groomed on their walls. Right now, typically these are small groomers, right? They're not big, they're not franchises, and they don't have lots of money. Maybe a great opportunity to not only put something like this on display, but offer to make a few wall displays for them. And pet owners, like David said, love pictures of their pets. We have them all over our house too, right? They may want a picture of their pet to go onto a photo panel, like a Chromolux photo panel, for example. And talk about margins, right? Margins are amazing with something like Chromolux, because David talked about we're driving emotion. We're driving emotional margin. That's what we're driving, because I would pay an extra $10, $15 for a picture of my son on a coffee mug, but I wouldn't pay that if it was a logo of some company. And that extra $10, $15 is that emotional margin. That's what we're driving. We're driving emotion, and we're selling things that people love.
Vic, that's it. So I'm not certain I can see questions. Hopefully Sprite is answering the questions as they come up. So I apologize, but I think probably that's what she's doing. As far as other things, just switching back to sublimation in general, what makes Sawgrass printers, what is making them so successful?
It's actually a good question. It's one I get on a regular basis, and we get it on social too. For years, as you alluded, we were chasing printers, we were chasing cartridges, and part of the roadkill that you mentioned earlier was the fact that printers were dying because we were getting aftermarket printers. We were finding aftermarket cartridges and putting our ink in, and fingers crossed, one, they work, and two, we'll get the cartridges made in time before a new model comes out. Okay, and so when we went to Ricoh, and it's no secret that our printers are made by Ricoh. The reason we went to Ricoh, the majority of the printers that they were producing, these desktop printers, were being used in conjunction with sublimation with Sawgrass inks. So it made perfect sense for us to go to Ricoh and say, look, we know that this is happening. You know that this is happening. Can you make a printer? Can you take this printer and can you retrofit it so it works even better with our inks? And so that it works harmoniously with our inks and our software. And they agreed. They did it. And it took 18 months initially to do that. And the second iteration took almost 2.5 years to work with them to do. But they are fine-tuned to work with our inks to the point where they won't release printers to us without testing our inks on their technology, because it's their reputation as much as it is ours.
So well, we certainly have been, I would agree, and there's a lot to take in for folks, but bottom line is all you have to know is that on the Sawgrass side, a lot of time and effort has been put in to have what I refer to as a true turnkey solution that really is second to none, quality-wise, color-wise, software-wise, marketing, and even sales, which we haven't talked about through your Go network. But bottom line is that Sawgrass is committed to really those three elements that I mentioned at the beginning, the design part, the artwork part, the process part, and then sales and marketing. And it's been our great honor to work with Sawgrass to add value to their model. Sprite, any questions to answer?
I do have a couple of questions about CreativeStudio. Can you delete uploads out of your design folder, Vic?
Can you delete designs? I believe you can, and you'd have to go into the settings section. Let me just check it. Yeah. So I'm gonna share my screen for a second, if you don't mind, David.
Sure.
Let's go to settings, share. Okay, you should be able to see my screen again.
Yes.
Okay, so if you hit this little, the CS mark here, you'll go back to this main screen. In here, if you go to creations, and I'm just going to pick, this is one of Megan's folders here, and here are all your designs under this particular folder, and I can click delete, and you can delete as many as you want. And if, you know, on the other side, if you use this particular design frequently, you can actually place it in your favorites so that it's easy to reach when you next go after it.
And to reiterate that from a template point of view, a product template, if the product is not yet in CreativeStudio, you can use the PNG version of our template on a blank canvas. So that would allow you to design with our template right then and there.
Yep.
Also, one thing we didn't talk about was when we actually go to print, the print driver is called the Sawgrass Print Manager, and there is a Conde edition of the Print Manager that essentially adds our substrates that we manufacture, plus it adds lots of other stuff like all the custom paper sizes that we have. And he's showing you how to do that.
Right now. Yep. So I've activated it.
Yep. And so you can expect even more customization in the Conde version of CreativeStudio in the future. So it just gives us an opportunity to make it very easy to get to the resources that we have. So I think, Vic, that's about it for today. Is there any other parting comments you'd like to talk about?
I think we're covered. I think the most important piece was look how quickly we actually produced a product from scratch.
Remarkably fast. Now, just to reiterate, one thing that gets confusing is that you don't have to ever use CreativeStudio. That you can use whatever you want to use. Corel, Photoshop, InDesign, whatever. In addition, you can combine the two. In other words, you could, for instance, do your photo editing and prep work, then import your photo into CreativeStudio to be placed in a design, like we did the dog shirt. So it becomes very valuable to combine the two because of the pre-made designs that are in CreativeStudio. You can also use other people's pre-made designs. For instance, we have Conde Design. You have all the tremendous designs that are part of, say, Digital Art Solutions. So it just has to be available in a format that CreativeStudio will accept. So the formats are obviously JPEG, PNG, PSD. Is there another format?
Yep, SVG is also allowed.
Right. Yep. Okay, gotcha. And that pretty much would cover the world right there.
That's right.
And with PSDs, you're bringing them in as layered PSDs that would allow you to edit each layer separately, correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, so you can manipulate each layer, and fonts too, which is a huge benefit, is the fact that you can edit your fonts from a PSD file in here too.
Okay, so if you're bringing in a PSD that has text in it,
yep.
So does that font have to be available in CreativeStudio?
It does, and we've actually got a list of fonts that we recommend that you use. You can always change the font once you've brought it in. Essentially what's happening is once it gets uploaded, it goes through a conversion process. But we've got about a list of 10 different fonts that are openly available in the marketplace, even through Google Fonts. And if you use one of those, bring it in, and then manipulate it and change it to whatever you want to.
So, and let me ask you one question. We'll wrap it up. So let's say you're a big Creative Studio user. You know, you got hundreds of designs, maybe even thousands, and your computer dies. Do you just simply start over with Creative Studio from scratch?
Boy, that would be a headache, wouldn't it? No, no. Everything, the beauty about CreativeStudio is it's all stored in the cloud. And the cloud is alive and well and has backups. So you don't have to worry about losing any of your work.
Okay. Yeah. And in all fairness, I'm going to ask the negative question is, well, I love Creative Studio. Can I use it with my other printer?
No.
So Creative Studio is for printing to a Sawgrass printer.
That's right. It is naturally designed, and as you mentioned earlier, it's a package system that we're providing. And you know, you spent a lot of money buying a system and working on with Sawgrass and blanks, etc. We don't want people use with other systems hogging all those resources. You deserve
if you did, you couldn't guarantee the quality.
And exactly, so, and you can't control the quality.
Because it is a turnkey system. That's the magic of it. Is it's limited in its features enough to where a normal person can learn to use it very quickly, can produce absolutely sellable products literally in minutes, and so it's a great way to get started. For some people, that may be all they'll ever do. You know, they may use Creative Studio from that day forward. You'll have other people that may graduate to CorelDRAW. You know, I'm a big CorelDRAW person, and many of us are CorelDRAW. And then at the point where you could combine the two and use them together. And so you don't have to, and we haven't talked about, we'll save it for another webinar about your Go network, but just give us the elevator speech on what the Go network is.
Yeah, so the Go network is we have essentially Uberized digital decoration. Everyone with printers and heat presses, they have them on all day. They have capacity. Some people would love to produce orders that they wouldn't have otherwise received. We can do that. We have a marketplace called Go Expression, where you can design in CreativeStudio, push your products to Go Expression for sale. Buyers can customize those products and personalize them online. And when that order is executed, it actually goes to someone who can actually produce it, who's geographically located closer to the recipient. If you just want to sell, you don't want to buy any Sawgrass equipment, you just feel like selling really good design products, get yourself a free CreativeStudio account, post on Go Expression and promote it and start selling. So that's how cool it is.
I want to reemphasize what you said there at the end, because I think it's certainly puzzling and somewhat contradictory, but basically you can use CreativeStudio through Go Expressions and not have any equipment at all.
That's right.
And what you're doing is you're selling through the Sawgrass Uber network to make sure the product gets made and then gets delivered.
You are absolutely right. Absolutely right. Because there are creatives, there are extroverted salespeople who don't want to spend time printing and pressing. There are folks who just love making things with the heat press and the printer. Let people do what they want to do.
Okay.
Right? And everyone makes money.
So if you want to learn more about it, obviously you can look at our videos. We've got a lot of videos about all this. You can also visit Sawgrass's website at Sawgrass INK and learn about it. So Vic, I want to thank you for being with us today, and thank you for being such a great partner. And I'll wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day till we meet again.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.